Welcome back to this course on the Custom Cabinet Planner. Today we will continue looking at the internal page, things that are specific to your team. And we will take our first peek into the various sections of the procedures page. This will be the first of several courses on the procedures. The reimagined part of this procedures process is that it provides a feedback loop to the user of what needs to be done, what has been done, and what order things need to be done in. This is the magic I mentioned earlier. So looking at our workspace on the left, we have Custom Cabinet Planner open here, and then we have this first group that has the EXT portion of it. That is intended to be external or customer facing, but your team would need to be invited into that section as well. And then this second page is the internal portion, which is intended for your team only, not your customers, your builders, your remodelers, just your team and yourself. And then the last page, the third page, is the admin, and that would just be for you or bookkeepers or outside services that you want to have access to some of your financial information. So we're focusing here on this procedures page, and here we have some text at the top of this page that is specific to it. So you see here where I say, welcome to the axis of awesome, the closest thing to a silver bullet that I'm aware of. Let's move your company from owner dependent to system dependent. So you can see I'm kind of coaching you through how I think this could be used and should be used, but you don't have to look at this forevermore. Right here above it, you control this description. So you can say hide this description. Once you've hidden it, you see that the words change to show description. And so when you click on that, they come back. So you always have the ability to close that down and only look at that if you need to see the description for this page. So this is what you would see when you enter the page, and we have 4 views currently. Now we may not always have these views, they may not always be named this, but it will be something similar. Right now we have active projects, archived projects, all projects. So this first view is active projects, and active projects have been grouped by project. So if we had 5 rooms for this particular one, those 5 rooms would be listed here, and then these are sorted in alphabetical order by the project name. Then we have the archived projects. In this sample set, I don't have any archived projects, but if we took one of these projects real quick, said this project here, if we were to jump into that project really quickly and archive it, then back to our procedures page. We will see that on the archived page now we do see this radius 17B. And then all projects would show the projects that were not archived and the projects that were archived. And you see here these are listed as no, 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 and this one is listed as yes, as being archived. So this last one is just simply not grouped. So it's the same view, it's all the projects, but they're just not grouped into the project. So all the rooms would be listed as a single line item. So that kind of covers this page and the groupings on this page. And now let's talk about this button right here. This is one of the magic features of Notion that I haven't found in any other of the apps similar when we're talking about Airtable and Trello and Asana and things like that. That we have this ability to come in here and create this template, and then we can edit the template. When we click on these 3 dots, we have the option to edit this template. But when we launch this template, so right now we're looking at the 3 active projects. When we launch this template, we're adding a new project, and we would just replace this new procedures template with our test project and then start answering these questions. Now I don't have any of these other pieces to link to. I don't have any additional rooms or any of that at this point, but as soon as you get the name of the project typed in here, then you would come here and click on this to load that template, basically to add the icon, to add anything that you had pre-filled in. Some of these you might decide that the first person is always the same person, and so you might go ahead and answer that there. You might have a note here, and this is a good example of having a note. So this is just a field that I've created, a text field, but I've created here to remind you to be patient, that when you click on that new procedures, you see that it's popped back up here, but we don't have the procedures yet. So I'm saying be patient. This could take up to 2 minutes because we're loading a ton of data. And so within 2 minutes, this thing will load that data down there. Now this has not always popped back up. Usually there's just a little spinning wheel until this happens, but this is what happens when you create a new one ultimately. But again, we're loading a lot of portals, a lot of information, and you'll see that as we work through this. So be patient, let it do its thing. Don't click on the button down here more than once. Just one time is all you want to do. And I think I may Yes. So as I was talking, I clicked on the blue button to load it, and so while it was loading, I clicked on the button again. So we actually have in this one, and this is a good example, we ended up with 2, and that's what happens when you don't wait for it to finish. It's really easy to solve if you end up with this. It just come down here to the bottom, drag up, and you don't really have to get these. As a matter of fact, I don't think that table of contents will delete, and so I'm just going to hit the delete key, but I also have the option to just click the 6 buttons, say delete. But that gets rid of that second. You can hit the delete button, or you can do what I did, click on the 6 buttons. So now we just have 1. But I wanted to kind of show you how that might happen. Again, in the past, when you clicked on that, you just got the spinning wheel until it loaded, so you didn't have the opportunity to do that. For the last few weeks, it's been this way. I don't know if it's going to stay this way, but that option to load the template comes back, and you just need to be patient. So you can have fields like that that just are reminders. So we've loaded a new template, and now we want to kind of talk through this. Ultimately, what we're doing now is procedures. So we would have possibly already created a project. We would have possibly already created a contact or a company, and maybe not. Maybe we're doing this as the first step. But here we would want to link to rooms if we've already created the rooms. If you're not, don't do that from here. Here we could create a project, and you can do that from here, and we'll talk about that just in a few minutes. And then this is a new section that we haven't talked about prior to this particular topic, and that is that we have this link to projects. And this was solving a problem that we've had, that we needed to have the estimates and proposals and things like that in their own database rather than just on the page, so that we can reload those templates. And we'll talk about that in a later video or a later tutorial or a later course. But we do want to start putting all of the, and you'll see that as we work through this, that all of those things now live in a database rather than we're just putting them on a page. And then link to Punchlist and link to callbacks, we'll cover that in one of these sessions on procedures. Then it dates the date you do it. We could make that automatic, but I want you to be able to control it in case you want to backdate something. And then the assignee is who's responsible for this first step, this ballpark estimate. Whoever's creating this, who's responsible for that piece. When you assign that to them, they're going to get a notification up here in this update section of the workspace, and there'll be a red bell. And when they click on it, it'll bring them to this project saying you've been assigned this project. And you can add notes specific to the project. Now again, you would probably add project specific notes at the project level, not here, but you could if it was specific to this room. And in this case, this test project, we would also want a room name here. So you see here we've got a project name of 4437 La Granada. Here we would want to have 4437 La Granada hyphen and then kitchen or bath or whatever, laundry or whatever the room name is. You'll see we've done that. We have a project name of Crevco Savoy, but then we have a procedures named Crevco Savoy Kitchen and Pullman Remodel, Pullman Kitchen. So we want to always have both the project name and the room name. And again, there's multiple reasons for doing that. You might be tempted to just put a room name, but it gets lost with all the other rooms when you're looking at this list view. Even though we do see the project, it's better if the project name is there when you get down into the project and you're looking at these fields. So now let's jump back into a project that actually has some data. So we have this project called 4437 La Granada Kitchen, and you see we've linked to the rooms. In this particular case, we've only linked to one room, the kitchen. We've linked to that project. We've linked to that project's data. And then we've linked to this particular one already has a punch list and a callback because it's a sample job and we want to see those kind of things. So we can see that there is a callback list called 4437 La Granada Kitchen, but then the things that need to be fixed would be sink doors loose, there's a scratch on cabinet number 23, and then there's the spinner is binding because they added baseboard behind it, that kind of stuff. So there is a project level callback with subtasks. Then this one's been dated and it's been assigned to one of our Good Profit Group members just because his name was in there. We don't have any notes specific to this right now, and then that permanent note is just showing up here. So now let's look at our hidden properties. You can see here that we have 5 more properties, and these are specific to that archived field. We don't need to see that because that's specific to the project. We have it here so we can see that it is set to no if we need to by doing just what we did, opening that up, but we don't want to see it all the time because you can't do anything with it, because when you see this magnifying glass, that means it's a lookup field. It lives somewhere else and we're just peeking into it here, so we can't change it here. We can't do anything to it. And then these are just kind of housekeeping things. Who created it? Whoever is logged in and creates this thing, their name will be attributed to it and the date they created it will be attributed to it. And every time someone opens it to edit it, their name will be attributed to that, whoever the last person was and the date they edited it. You may find that helpful at times, and then we can hide that. So this section here is called a table of contents. It is a Lego block of Notion, one of the many Lego blocks. What it's doing is it's tracking whatever is a header or header toggle down here. So you can actually see, if I scroll down just a bit, that the first item is ballpark estimate, the second is selection meeting. So it's just tracking with what's happening down here, and it gives you the ability, if you wanted to go all the way to callbacks, we're at the very top of this page and you'd have to scroll a ways to get to callbacks, but we can just jump straight to callbacks by clicking on that, and it takes us to the very bottom of the page, and then we can open callbacks up and do whatever it is we want to do. Another little shortcut that is not self-evident, but it's been here for a while now, is if you click in this breadcrumb trail. So we're in the custom cabinet planner, a couple other levels deep, but we're on the procedures page and we're on this particular procedures for this particular job. If we click on this last piece of this breadcrumb trail, it will take us back to the top of the page. So you have a way to get to the bottom of the page very quickly and to get back to the top of the page very quickly. So that covers everything I wanted to touch on in this first course on the procedures page, kind of the preliminary portion of this. Up next, we'll start with our ballpark estimates on the sequence of events and then work our way down as far as we can get in about a 15 or 20 minute session, and then we'll stop and we'll repeat that process until we get all of these covered. Thanks for watching.